freaking doing children sleeping shit.
Yeah, I'm sure you were. Yeah. So yeah, for our one viewer, we are going live a little bit early. Digital's not here yet. Again, he does have a new baby, so I think he wants to start around 9:15 or 8:15 Eastern, which is about another 7 or 8 minutes.
It's a classic podcasting procrastination excuse, is the procreation of children and using them as a reason to start podcasts late. Classic move. Classic move. I did it a couple times myself.
That's us. We're so classy.
That's right.
It may not even be that. He might just be late. He could be out somewhere.
Oh, really? That could be. Yeah, he could be out there partying down.
I doubt it, though.
Let's see where Mike Downs is, so I can friggin' retweet what he tweeted, because that's important to get the word out. Whoever you are watching us, jerk, why don't you tweet the Atomic Geeks or something, so we know who we can shout out for people watching right now. Because we'll be recording soon, let me tell you. Oh boy, it's going to be an episode.
It's going to be an episode.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. I always look for Mike, and it's not Mike. It's friggin' Downs. And it's not Sounds, it's Downs.
What, when you're searching me on your
if I
Twitter?
search you in Twitter, yeah.
Would you just look at that? I only just did it like 5 minutes ago. It would just be in your stream.
No, but like, it is, but my search was incorrect, right? Like, if I'm searching for an email from you, I'd look for Mike as an M-I-K-E. It finds up because Michael is Michael, right? M-I-C-H. But so I use the same frame of searching in Twitter, but I don't find, because there's no Mike in your Twitter or your name at all, so I don't find you. So,
on purpose, yes, that is part of the point.
But when I do put Downs in there it is. All right,
and we've lost our one viewer already.
Oh my god! Because I guess I just started rambling. Maybe we should make that.
They're back. They came back. That happens. It seems.
Maybe we should make that as another rule for season 2. Is freaking Christian just shut the fuck up every once in a while. Let's see here. So we're collaborating on these other things. That's easy to do. That when we collaborate, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting topic, that's for sure. It's really clever, yeah.
No, I wouldn't say it's clever. I mean, it's Tijo's topic. I mean, I'm sure it's been done a million times over, for crying out loud. He doesn't aware of it. But you know how it is. Just like Alexander Graham Bell thought he invented the telephone when it was some other freaking Italian guy, for crying out loud.
Doesn't matter anyways, because we're rebooting, so all bets are off. Even if we've done this topic before, we could be redoing it again.
Is that how you're taking it? It's basically going to rehash all of the fucking dumb topics you've had in the past, for crying out loud?
Fuck you. No, but I do think that it would... some things I think we might have different answers for. It's been 5 years, so I think some things we could revisit. Some conversations are... I don't know. Not they're always... I don't know.
The trouble for me with doing that is because I have one of those friggin' super pedantic memories, so I never forget anything, right? So basically, it's just like I think of an episode and I can just replay the whole thing in my head. You know what I mean? I'm just like a computer or something like that.
Not me.
Yes, not me either. Therein lies the humor, for crying
out
loud.
Oh, I'm being sarcastic. I was
going sarcastic. It's no one like me, right?
I don't know. Maybe with the podcast you are. Probably not.
You know who has that memory? Here's an interesting bit of trivia for people who are waiting for a show, and this has nothing to do with the topic, obviously, is Mary Lou Henner. She has one of those memories where you pick a day and a year, and she can remember exactly what she did that day and what news events happened that day.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's almost
because I even when people say, oh, in '98, well, that, and I'm like,
God.
I don't know what that means. You have to tell me something in my life that happened in '98 for me to place myself in that time and place. Do you know what I mean?
Oh God, it's not until almost recently. That it's like when people say a movie came in the '90s, they actually kind of comprehend how fucking long ago the movie from the '90s were. When I think about it, right? Well, it's 2014, for crying out loud. It's like fucking 20 years ago. The fucking '90s. No, it's not. It was just yesterday, dickheads. Oh, somebody freaking tweeted something. It looks like.
Yeah, I think that's CT.
Oh, CT. I'm watching what you do. Oh, I see. Oh, he's at work doing this. So he's He's there he's on the line right now with the safety
late.
goggles on at the Cracker Factory, friggin' watching, I guess, the big screen with all the other workers of the friggin' Atomic Geeks podcast. Anyway, no offense to people who work at Cracker Factories. I'm sure you all do fun work, especially if you're listening to our podcast right now. I thoroughly enjoy crackers, and I encourage people to buy them. Pardon me.
Podcasting crackers.
Also, yes, podcasting crackers. Wait, there's something that that should be fucking created, for crying out loud. Podcasting crackers. So
They could have been mentioned in that Tallahassee Magazine article.
Yeah, right, except for that freaking shit-ass James Pod podcast. Good Lord! Jesus, that guy actually put on the printed page and sold to people, and one of the most fairest of the southern United States, for crying out loud. James Pod, for crying out. Good Lord. Jeez, I guess that magazine doesn't have any kind of editor whatsoever, do they? Yeah, but Nerd Lunch, though, nothing like that. That's a fine, sturdy podcast. I mean, I was hoping for a picture of Jeej instead of that other guy, but I mean, well, I guess you'll take what you get. The friggin' the man runs Tallahassee friggin' magazine, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm. I was surprised when when my subscription showed up at my door and there was this article about podcasting in it. It was shocking.
That's right. Now, mine hasn't come yet. It usually comes by Pelican, and it hasn't arrived yet. So hopefully, it hasn't gotten waylaid by a gang of Canada geese toughs or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
That could happen. They are migrating. That's a real type.
That's true. I mean, the Canada goose is known as quite the adversarial bird, but a pelican, though, it can handle attacking many different types of fowl simultaneously. So that's why they usually bring the magazine. So we'll have to keep my eyes open for that.
There you go.
Little pelican trivia there for everyone out there. Still waiting to listen to this season 2 reboot, whatever, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm. So far, everything's totally different.
Well, definitely the preamble. It feels a lot looser, a lot different. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a bit more. It's loose, but there's structure. I like it. Well, I'm just gonna go over and see what other preamble notes I have in the bottom here. We haven't discussed it. We went over pelicans, right?
Yes, we touched on
went over the audacity of James Pod podcast being mentioned in Tallahassee Magazine, right? We talked about that.
We talked about that.
Oh, we talked about procreation, how it's a great excuse for delaying podcasts.
Yes, we did.
All right, then. That's quite
pretty
a lot
much our shtick.
Yeah. There's something here about the polar ice caps, but I don't think we're going to get into that right now. It's a bit of a downer. Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll just say I'll write here in the notes for a later occasion, and maybe we can jump right into our thoughts on Pokemon.
Weirdest string of subjects ever.
It's the preamble, right? That's the new format for the second season, right?
The new format. That's
random, not associative topics. For crying out loud.
That's right. That's how we do.
Right.
Yeah, we have to. A lot more hip saying, like rap kid sayings now into the podcast as well to appeal to the younger demographic.
Yeah. Oh, geez, I just got a tweet from some member of the James Pod podcast telling me to shut my mouth. Honestly, they are a surly bunch of that podcast. Those couple of people who work at Carlin, and what is it? The friggin' robot dog that does that as well. For some reason, whatever the heck it is.
A bunch of internet podcast toughs is who they are, actually.
They are podcast toughs. Those are the worst. Like they sit there, freaking in front of their microphones with a big Bowie knife, freaking carving their names repeatedly into their friggin' desks that they podcast from. They're the tough guys.
Yeah.
That's right.
We got an internet throwdown on your hands now.
I know. I didn't. That was the last thing I wanted to start. Was a podcasting feud, especially those podcasting toughs in the southern states, for crying out loud, because those guys are the toughest. It's all that
they are pretty tough.
It's all that hot tropical air that kind of raises their friggin' dander a bit, and it takes them forever to calm down, for crying out loud. They're a surly bunch, those southern podcasters.
Southern Baptists.
Okay, well now Dejo's officially late.
Okay.
I'll tell you, the secret, you want to get that kid to sleep, for crying out loud, is like cough syrup. That's what I keep telling my wife.
Yeah, at 2 weeks old, give that kid some cough syrup.
Yeah, but not a lot.
It's probably 3 months now, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know. What do I look like? His parents? Hello, Internet. This one's for you. It's for your sakes. Hope I remember how to podcast still. Do. I wish I lived on a rodeo. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm singing a song. I'm making up the words as I go along. I want to live in the rodeo. Ooh. Who wants to live in the rodeo? Can you live in the rodeo? I guess if you're in a rodeo and you travel from town to town, technically you are living in a rodeo. Who am I talking to you? I'm talking to you, dear listener, or viewer, or whatever.
What are you going to on about now?
Nothing. I'm singing a song about living in the rodeo, and I thought after I coined that first lyric, I thought, can you live in the rodeo? That doesn't make sense. But I continue to go on with it, and then I sang that same chorus again, and then I said, I guess you can live in a rodeo if you travel from like state to state in a rodeo. I mean, you live in a rodeo.
Rodeo, exactly. I would say. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like rodeo clowns commute from one rodeo to another, or they don't go like working at the same rodeo every day.
Although I don't know. I'll bet you there's some people who travel. There's probably some people who drive in though. I would think.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, there's not like a city or state where has a rodeo every single day where people can just like live there and commute to their rodeo jobs every day. That'd be kind of like crazy.
Yeah, no, but it would kind of be like wrestlers, right? You probably work at rodeo territory, and you know what I mean. And so,
or maybe it's like there's like a Broadway of rodeo, right? Rodeos, like Broadway has all these different states.
Sure.
Maybe somewhere in the southern, maybe somewhere in the southern states, maybe those guys from James Pod might know where the Broadway of rodeos is located, where basically there's a variety of rodeos that people can choose to go to on their trips to those southern states. Not to say it couldn't be the northern states, but it seems like the rodeo seems more like a kind of a southern state kind of thing. I have something against southern states tonight, I think.
Well, I was going to say, those guys in southern states, they're all into that kind of rodeo stuff and cowboys and stuff. You know what I mean? That's the way it goes, right?
That's true. I mean, basically, you live in those southern states. It's like cowboys is your first love, and probably the second thing you love could be magazine delivery and pelicans.
Well, I was going to say guns, but...
God! I thought it goes part and parcel with the cowboys, you know what I mean?
True.
Because, I mean, what would you call a cowboy who didn't have a gun, you know? Cow loser? I have no idea. Unless you're one of those cowboys that likes to use knives. But usually those cowboys like to use knives. They use guns, too, or at least have one gun, but they more concentrate on their knives, I think. Anyway. What is this podcast, huh?
I don't know.
Talking about shit?
This is season 2 of the podcast right here.
That's right. Sitting around, just talking bullshit, eating Rice Krispie squares, and
no, this is the podcast. This is it.
Well,
we're not even putting out MP3s anymore. You got to watch it on live. That's it.
Thank goodness that's our sponsor, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Rice Krispie Squares, sponsoring the Tom and Geeks podcast.
I mean, I can't believe we kept it under wrap that General Mills, is our sponsor.
That's why
that's all we do now is eat Rice Krispie Squares and drink rice beer, and we're fucking home free.
Yeah, that's why we had to take the summer off, so we can frickin' eat a shitload of Rice Krispie Squares, so we can actually learn to be addicted to them. And then finally, when you say we love Rice Krispie Squares, we're actually telling the truth. Because the last thing I ever want to do, and this is something I take straight from the heart, is that the last thing I want to do is lie to you, dear listener. Because then if you build a podcast on a pyramid of lives, you've got yourself one slippery, sloppy pyramid, I'll tell you what.
Yes.
Lies are pretty slippery.
Slippery.
Oh, wait.
Measles. Oh, Hey. Michael DiGiovanni coming on the line.
Hey, look! You know what? This is one of the new changes for season 2.
Hats.
We all have to wear hats.
It's all hats.
And any future guests have to wear ball caps too. That's the rule.
It's a new goddamn
rule. So
rule.
just to fill you in, DJ, so you're up to date. As far as the preamble podcast show goes, we did talk about Pelicans. We talked about what else was we talking about? The Tallahassee Magazine and the James Pod podcast, and the audacity of it being printed in that magazine, and procreation, how it is the most viable excuse for the delay of podcasting.
So CT logged on is what you're saying.
Did he? Oh, I don't know. We can't figure it out yet, but some guy from the James Pod podcast is really angry at us and just saying horrible things at us.
Oh, that doesn't sound good at all. Okay, give me 2 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Did you just have another baby that we don't know about? For crying out loud. So what do you got? You got double up on your stormtroopers behind you there?
I always had. There's 3 sand troopers and 2 stormtroopers. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to build a bit of an army. And I had Boba and Maul, but they were kind of over there before you guys. I don't think you guys could see them. But this is new. This is like the whole cantina scene with Han and Greedo.
Right. Well, I wouldn't call it the cantina scene. It's more like the cantina scene.
Christian, you sound a bit warbly to me.
I don't know. How do I sound to you, Dance?
You did right then. I mean, that was, I don't know, it was bad before that, for the last 20 minutes or so.
I've been talking a lot. Maybe that jerk from the James Pod podcast can tell me how I sound.
He's hacking the fucking Matrix.
Maybe, okay, let's, Christian's ready to go, it seems. We don't want to waste this energy, so.
So how much are you going to mention, or are you just going to not even just...
What are you talking about?
Season 2, are you just...
I don't want to I'm going to obviously talk about it, but I don't want to get into a 20-minute conversation about the whys and the...
How about a 7-minute conversation?
I just didn't know what you were had planned to do.
Yeah, I figure we would talk about it. I thought it would be like, we're obviously going to set it up, but I don't think we need to get into the whole, our reasons for doing it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like...
Yeah, I thought you might even not even mention it. The point being that this is just a new version of the show and not even talk about it. And then that way, people might tweet, hey, what happened to Geek News or whatever?
Hey, shut up. I understand what you're saying. Hold on a second. Okay, I got some scheduling issues pretty much almost for the rest of September. I got to talk with you guys afterwards, after we're done the podcast, if that's all right.
Okay.
Just remind me, because I don't want to talk about it now while we're live, crying out loud.
Okay, so... Well, Downs, you know what? I'm going to keep it pretty... I was planning to make like a mention that this is Season 2, Episode 1, and just do a sentence about it. I thought there might be a couple jokes that would come out of that, but okay. I wasn't...
Well, let's just do it, and we kind of got an idea that we're not going to freaking kill the shit out of it.
Yeah, I don't think we get into a whole, our thought process as to why we did it and la-da-da-da-da-da. I just thought, we'll set it up quick, and then we'll move into stuff.
There's a Q&A button on there. What the fuck is that?
I have a group chat button down in the bottom now, with a blinking thing.
You're putting things in the bottom now?
Don't you see on the right-hand side that I have a group chat thing?
I don't have any of that stuff.
I don't know. Hold on a second. I haven't freaking...
Okay, so let's get going. I mean, because the only thing is, so you guys know the topic. It's going to be very collaborative. And then we're just going to do the anything else at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone...
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's give it a shot, I suppose. We're live, correct?
Okay, we're live right now. Yeah, so any conversations about...
You're really warbly to me. I don't know if it's my connection.
No, you are. Christian is warbly. Every time you go to start to talk, it seems to...
well, that's no... I'm on my network here, for crying out loud. I don't understand how that could be. I don't know what else I can do.
Okay, do you have another browser open, or...?
Yeah, I got lots of stuff open, actually. So never mind. Let me just fix that right now. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm on my net... Fucking this Windows 8... Who likes this fucking piece of shit?
I hate it. I've got it. It's terrible.
Here I am. Now I want to get into Windows 8, and it's refusing me. God damn it.
Yeah, it's awful. I think the next goddamn computer I buy, I'm gonna get a Mac. I'm just gonna fuck it. I use Apple everything else.
Here we go.
You
Wi-Fi. No, I'm turning my Wi-Fi off and making sure I'm on
That's
the
what
network.
I do. That's what I do. I shut the Wi-Fi off so it forces a wire connection.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to do. Okay, so okay, DJ, you shut up again or say something, and then I'll come in and see if I sound okay.
Hi, hi.
I'm interrupting you with the sound of my
That
face.
sounds much better.
Okay, yeah, I had like
Really good. Are we
I was
all
still-
talking? Can you hear me too?
Yeah, you sound good.
You sound good since the beginning. I just was freaking. I had like 18 browser windows open because I was freaking doing research for this topic. So anyway,
All right,
I don't know. It sounded like you drove it down again then, but anyways, let's see what happens.
Jesus.
let's see what happens. All right, okay. The order is going to be Downs and then Christian, and then who is hosting next week?
Oh. I have many topics.
I don't, so you can go ahead and I'll think up one for the week after then.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, because next week I can actually host at the regular time, and then after that is what we'll talk about later.
Okay.
Everyone ready?
Ready.
I guess.
Let's do it. Okay. Hello and welcome back to the Atomic Geeks podcast. My name is Michael DiGiovanni, for all of you who forgot me. This is the new season, Season 2, Episode 1 of our show. I'm in Toronto, and I'm back in the hosting chair. I forgot how comfortable this thing was. And once again, I am podcasting under the influence because I'm drinking me one of Nickelbrook's La Paysan Saisons. It sounds pretty tasty. Let's see who's decided to return to the show for tonight's podcast.
Saison Raison. It's Mike Downs here. I'm coming to you from Boxwood Brewing, still in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. That might be a surprise to some. I am here and I'm drinking what I named, what did I name this? I forgot it. This is some beer someone gave me. Hoppy Red, I'm calling it. It's some beer that someone gave me free, so I'm drinking it, and it's red, and it's fucking kind of hoppy. Hi, welcome back.
Oh, hello, Internet. It's your pal Christian from the town of Oakville. Ready for Season 2 of the Atomic Geeks podcast. And get ready, because in this season, my character takes a bold and strangely sexual direction on the show. So stay tuned.
Are you not? And apparently, Christian has gone to AA because he's not drinking anymore.
Oh! And thankfully, due to the new Season 2 budget, I was able to afford a much more expensive beer this week, and that is Moosehead. Moosehead. It's a beer that makes you forget that you podcast and tell people about your beer.
Oh, how I've missed this. This is unbelievable.
Fucking 5 years of doing that shit. You fucking take a summer off. You forget how the fuck to do it, for crying out loud.
I haven't forgot how to do it, man. My shit was fucking smooth as silk.
I know, man. It's like half of it is just saying your name. It's not that hard of a thing.
And what you have in your fucking hand, like,
And where you live. Like, I mean, these
I
are
was
things...
rehearsing for hours in front of the mirror today, you know what I mean, and doing all my warm-up exercise, and I just fell apart. That's why I need a cue card boy. Maybe we can work that out in Season 2.
Well, it's you got all caught up in that Season 2 jokes. Like, you know, you had to do that. And I applaud you for doing it because this is our Season 2. We took a little bit of a break. We're back with a retooled, reformatted, rebooted show. This is our first episode of a bold, daring new era. Can I just say, though, that's the longest first season of anything ever. Like,
Absolutely. 5 years is a long fucking time.
We don't get another vacation for another 5 years, for crying out loud.
no, but I'm saying 260 episodes. People are going to probably complain now that that Season 2 needs to be like double of this thing. You know, they always got to. They've ordered more episodes for
my
Season
God.
2.
So in 10 years we'll retool it again. Is that what you're saying? Oh my God. Never mind. That's not a nice thing to say. But 10 years is a long time.
You were going to say that one of us weren't going to be alive, weren't you? That's what you were
I
going to
wasn't
say.
going to say that because it'll probably be
Jesus.
me. So that's not a very nice thing to
Not
say.
the fucking wood, for Christ's sakes, for crying out loud.
I
Maybe I won't
would.
take that friggin' NASCAR racing course class this fall, for crying out loud. Good grief.
10 years is a long time. That's a sad, scary note. Let's not talk about that.
No, they won't even have podcasts at that point. They'll just, what you'll do is you'll just download voices directly into your head. Like, you know what I mean?
And
Like,
you'll make them say what you want. So you'll be like, you know what I mean?
it'll be different parts of your subconscious, and they'll host weekly shows in your brain. That's kind of sounds like my Thursdays. Well, guys, welcome back. I'm excited. Let's get into our the topic for tonight. What we're talking about is we're talking post-credit scenes, or the technical term, using air quotes, stingers. These are those. It's pretty self-explanatory. They're those little tiny bumpers that appear if you sit all the way to the end of end of the credits of a movie, then they give you that little bonus. I mean, it's really the rage now. I think the reason why it's so of a hot topic is because of Marvel, right? I think Marvel currently is using these to the best effect. Well, would you agree with that, Downs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, as you say, it's. I wanted to take a little bit. Some of them aren't all the way at the end. There's mid and kind of final posts, right? So they're, you know what I mean. So they're, because they have kind of been around. And when I was doing my research, I was surprised. And as I remembered some that were older that I hadn't thought about. But you're right. And there is almost a is a renaissance the right term? I don't know if that's the right term.
Rebirth?
Or maybe rebirth, but like it is the air quotes stinger new renaissancers. Like they and Marvel have perfected the art, I would say.
They're being used more than ever. Like, and I did internet research as well, because that's what I do when I podcast. And what am I trying to say? They seem to be using it more and more in movies now, more than ever before. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what are your guys' thoughts on them? Like, do you like this? Are you sitting behind in a movie theater, or fast forward in your Blu-ray to get to these things, or do you just go? Are you over it now? Is it too overdone?
I'll jump in my opinion, because I love them. I will say that I saw one of them recently that wasn't that great, and so I think one of the things that is great about them, and what works to what Christian was saying about that they're more prevalent now, is because we're in such a sequel world, is that it's such a setup for the next movie type of thing. And so I am totally the person, if I like a movie, and Marvels have been very good, I'll sit there and wait in the movie theater until the end and wait till the post-credit scene. Absolutely. I love them.
Yeah, I like them too. I mean, discovered them, I can't remember when I discovered them, but once I found out that some movies do this, every single movie that I see now, I have to fast forward to the credits, because just in case the OCD in me goes, I freaking missed the fucking final scene, for crying out loud. Every single movie. It doesn't matter what kind of movie it is, I have to go until I see another freaking producer or production company's logo at the end, then I know, okay, there's no freaking stinger. Which, by the way...
I never do that. Sorry. I never... If it's not a Marvel movie, I didn't even expect it to be in there, to be honest, though. Sorry, Mike.
Well, no, it's that's interesting, Christian, because I feel like I'm sort of the same way. It feels like in a lot of ways now these post-credit scenes are promoted to us, where it's almost like, stay tuned, because you're pre-programmed to know that Marvel's going to do it. Like, actually, a perfect example of that where I stayed behind, because I thought the Warner Brothers DC would have followed suit. I was like, well, Man of Steel's got to have something, and it didn't. But I agree. A lot of the times I tend to, like Christian, I'm curious now to see if that happens. But I also find that we generally know the ones that are going to have them. But we've all talked about internet research, and doing this. I think Down said this. This has happened in a lot of movies, a lot more than I actually remembered. Like the earliest examples, according to what I could find of this, was started in 1963 in the James Bond flick From Russia with Love. And that simply was where they did the ubiquitous James Bond will return in ... You know what I mean? Where that was kind of the first example of this, where it was just letters, black screen letters, giving a little something, kind of telling people there's going to be more. Superman, I think, did that as well. I think the original.
No, yeah, I think it was they actually shot. I don't think they actually did it with. It may be in the re-edits that they released. Was that the movie? Because that takes place, I think, in the beginning of the Superman 2, right? Is that General Zod and the other two break out of the Phantom Zone? Well, that was supposed to be a post-credit scene, but I don't think it actually did. It was like Richard Donner's idea, but didn't. And what I read, they said it didn't actually happen.
Yeah, see, they did do that. Next coming soon, Superman 2 and Superman 1. I read that in my research as well.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's because that Donner was kind of had the forethought to even do that. I mean, he was really the one that trailblazed the superhero movies. But
again, that was because they shot those movies back to back, and so they knew there was a sequel. So even to Christian's point of even saying that he was coming back, it was a lock, and I think that's the only reason why they had enough.
You would do it.
Yeah. The same with the James Bond movies, right? Like way back when, those fucking James Bond movies are money in the bank, right? Because every dickhead who likes that freaking British spy bullshit is gonna we're gonna go to the theater and see that friggin' movie, for crying out loud. But there are other movies though that did not work out well. Like apparently Remo Williams did that.
What Remo Williams did Remo Williams will return and
And they also, the other one, what's that friggin', the movie that friggin' CT from Nerd Lunch friggin' wets his pants on every time he talks about it.
Oh, Buckaroo Banzai.
Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah, at the end of that movie they said, hey, we're going to come back and fight the crime league, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that
was disappointing too, man. I was bummed out. That was like, fuck, that movie never happened.
Oh, yes, that's...
Well, and I mean, the other, fuck you, the other big one was, and I'm going to totally trounce probably all over you, DJ, Mr. Host, was... It almost seemed like it wasn't going to work out, but then it finally did. 10 years later, was Back to the Future, right? Like, that was locked to have sequels, and I remember being a kid. It's so funny now, to people who were like, oh yeah, there's 3 movies, but to us, that was years in between where it was like, are they ever going to make those fucking movies? Like just like the Star Wars ones.
That was the thing is the Back to the Future one is an interesting one. In your brain, I think you almost think that's a post-credit scene. It's not. That's how they ended.
Right.
That's how they ended part 1, where roads, where we're going, you don't need roads. Like that was the scene.
It said to be continued. You're right. But
it was to be.
You're right.
That
it
was
wasn't right.
That was the time difference between movies was like 10 years between 1 and 2.
Oh God, yeah, it was a while. I mean,
Jesus, yes, it was a long time.
It was not like 2-3 years later. But I think that was the first time where they legitimately wrote to be continued before they cut to credits. Now, according to research, the first. This may be. I mean, this. I don't know. I feel like this is the real answer here.
Obviously, you can see one of the changes in season 2, though, is that we are all doing more research.
Oh, it's a hashtag internet research, I think, for the season 2.
I am drowning in paper and digital.
I've got volumes of Roe versus Wade. I mean, this is.
If it isn't clear to you now, podcast listener, we care more, and our research proves it.
By episode 4, this will all be on. We'll be completely over that. But we'll stop doing homework by that point. But according to that, the research is. The original Muppet movie was the first ever post-credit scene, and it's the very famous one where Animal comes out, looks out at the screen, and says, "Go home, bye-bye." This is the documented first one, and then what happened with these post-credit scenes is what you found as we went into the 80s and whatnot was they were largely employed by comedies. Like that's where it really started. It was like they were being done to add a final punchline or to, do a little clever gag that maybe you couldn't add into the movie or something. I think probably one of the most famous ones and one of my favorites is the the one from the original Airplane, right? Like,
wow, you went right to the best one. You went right to the best one of all of these stingers, and let me go on record by saying I think that's a stupid fucking name for this.
I
friggin'
agree.
thing.
I agree.
Stingers? Like, I don't understand. It's not stinging. What does stinging mean? Like, it should be something else. I thought they used to be called like Monk's Rewards or something like that. Right? Like, you have the patience to stay to the very end of the credits and watch it. What's a sting? It's not stinging me. It stung me because I didn't know there was going to be a scene.
I like that though. Monk's Reward. That's pretty freaking neat.
but that doesn't roll off the tongue.
No,
You know what I'm
it doesn't
saying?
have like sex appeal.
It's clever, but stinger, it's a little piece you put at the end, you know, that'll bite you, that'll like nip you. Like, that's why they're doing it. It's a little. You could say it's a bumper. You could call it a I'm not agreeing with that. You're making it sound like I created such the type.
No, you sound like you're a friggin'
Even a tease or like like a ball stroke or something. You know what I mean? Like,
but that doesn't make sense. That's like it's got to be something that's tagged right on the end. Not like a tease.
I'm willing to go with Stinger there, Mr. Friggin' Movie Studio friggin' head of.
What are you talking about? Monk's preview here, for God's sake.
Monk's Rewards.
Monk's Reward. Come on, get with it.
That's
Monk's
right.
Reward, and I'm getting the film snob fucking claim put at me.
No, I'm just saying how I don't like the name Stinger, and you seem to be backing it up because I guess somehow we got a new secret freaking movie studio sponsor that we're not aware of in season 2. For Christ's sakes,
Smoke, my God, I'm not even sure what that like.
Look behind you. There's a big bag with a $sign on it. Freaking money falling out of it.
Because I said the word Stinger. What, like, so 20th Century Fox paid me off to say the word Stinger? Like,
they branded the terms.
He's admitting it now. It's all coming truth. That's another big part of season 2 is truth on this season of the Atomic Geeks podcast.
And jokes that don't make a lot of sense. So let's.
That's always been that way.
Well, that's true. That was a very tired cliche from season 1 that we've decided to employ again.
That's never going to change.
That's never going to change. But you know what? The airplane example is a great one for how they were kind of used in a lot of cases. It was to tie up a loose end in sort of a funny way. But then what happened largely was. What started to happen as more and more movies started to use these things was it was almost wrapping up minor characters' undecided fates. Like, they were actually going, oh yeah, you remember that character here? Oh yeah, this is what happened with him. Like that's what started happening. The one of the examples. I'd actually forgot about this. But every single one of the Pirates of the Caribbean had a post-credit scene. I don't know. I actually forgot about that.
I don't think. Well, one, I don't know if I've even seen all of those movies, and for two, I guarantee I didn't sit through the goddamn credits.
I think I did. I know I saw all 4 of those movies, and I think I did.
I don't even know how many there were.
There's
a lot of pirates. I'll tell you that.
Okay, say that again, Christian. You warbled-faced.
Lot of pirates in those movies, I'll tell you that right now, for crying out loud.
Oh, yes, lots of sea shanties as well. But there's a funny... The one I do remember was there was a scene where they were left on an island, and Jack Sparrow was getting chased by all of the indigenous natives, and then they chase his dog away, and then the dog lures the natives away, and that's the last you see of it. They leave the island, they go do something else. And then at the post-credit, they show that the natives are all now worshiping that dog that's sitting on a throne with like a bamboo crown. Like that, it's just a little clever, little silly thing.
I remember that too. But I have another one that is similar in vein to more emphasize your point. Was the one from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, right? Where first Steve Martin's character is trying to leave to go to fucking Thanksgiving and all that shit, and his boss is like looking at 2 samples of this new friggin' magazine cover or something, and he's trying to figure out which ones. He goes, all right, I gotta go. And John Candy and Steve Martin have their adventures. And at the end of the credits, they show the same. His boss is still in the boardroom, looking at the 2 pictures, deciding which one, with a full turkey dinner sitting on the boardroom table. You know what I mean? And he's all disheveled and stuff.
Yeah,
that was it.
Sorry, no, it's just that you're really warbly, dude.
I don't know what
catching that, Downs?
Yeah.
Oh God! All right.
Okay, so sorry. Well, I'll pick up where after you end. But
You want me to maybe pause and reboot or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna reboot and then I'll jump back in. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stay on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you stay on. Just give me a second here.
All right. Yeah, because
How's it
I
going?
have good. I have to admit, I didn't catch completely all he was with everything that he was saying there.
And I made it through, but he was getting pretty morbid.
He was getting. I heard something about
so.
Turkey and something else, and
Yeah.
but I was losing a little track of. Is there anyone watching?
Yeah, there was up to 3. We're back down to 1 now.
Oh.
CT was watching.
I think I saw him tweet that. Yeah.
That's why we were making jokes at his expense.
So the boys went back to school.
Mason went back today. Xander doesn't go back tomorrow. He starts junior high tomorrow.
Oh, what? They start on a Thursday?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, Mason didn't go back till today. So like everyone else in Canada went back, whatever it was. Tuesday. So I had to take Wednesday off and be home with both of them. No. Tuesday off to be both with them. And then today, which is Wednesday, Mason went to school, and then tomorrow Xander finally goes back to school.
See, Madeline goes into junior kindergarten, so that's a staggered launch. So her first day is tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So they do that. I'd heard to like ease kids into it, where like some of them it's just a draw, like where it was like your kid will start on Thursday. Some of them probably started on Tuesday, but I didn't realize.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't realize like junior high starts on a Thursday. That just seems kind of weird, eh? Like
yeah. And
what is junior high? 6? Grade 6?
Yeah, it wasn't. They weren't supposed to go. It was supposed to be every other year. His school has gone to 6, and then it's 7, 8, 9. But they closed down another smaller school, and so now it's like another like middle school or whatever, his age school. So now after grade 5, they go to grade 6, 7, 8. I guess that now junior high.
7, 8. No. Oh, okay.
And then,
we didn't like. See, I didn't have junior high. Like you're probably
either.
Like
yeah. We went to high school right up to grade 8.
That's it was 2 to. My school was like 2 to 8, and then 9 to 13. Like there's now you're kind of transitioning like 3 times now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How's work going?
Good. I'm really busy.
Yeah.
I'm on a bunch of government projects actually, which is pretty. I mean, it's difficult and stuff, but it's stuff that thousands of people are going to use, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's always good. You at least in those ideas, it's like people are going to use this. Like it's not like you do some client stuff and you're like, what, friggin' 6,000 or 600 people are going to go to this site.
I'm going to like this page or whatever. Yeah.
And that'll be it.
I mean, that's the agency stuff. All the stuff I did at agency stuff was, is anyone even going to do this stuff? But where I'm at now, like, it's literally so much government stuff, which is, again, it has its own challenges, but it's
not the sexiest stuff, I'm assuming, clearly.
No, but I mean, doing usability with these guys is so good because, like, a lot of us it's so bad, you know what I mean? That it's just like, like, come on, like, this is people have like certain expectations when they use the web and stuff, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
no matter what your rules or how you have to do things the old-fashioned way, if you want to be doing it online, you got to freaking step up and change the way things happen, you know what I mean? Which is a difficult road to hoe.
Yeah.
How's it going? So, I mean, I saw Sam's launch look pretty like it was fun, hey?
Yeah, well, we went up on Saturday. Like, so his brewery's completely done. He's got it. Like, it looks real. It's really good. Like,
I've seen all the pictures of it being built. Like, it's legit. Like, right? Like
it reminds me of like Garrison. Like that was one of the ones he kind of wanted to model the idea of because he wanted to have like. A really cool retail store, but he has he has his tap room, right? So they don't have to. It's whatever licenses you apply for, you can be like a brew pub, a restaurant. They're all different license, right? Yeah. They're called a tied house, so they're tied. It's a brewery. It's a serving room tied to the brewery, so they don't need to have food on premise, but you have to have food around them. So they have a permanent food truck outside the brewery. So that's how you get around that. But he has built. It's a bar. Like inside, tables. I mean, we got there. It opened at 11 o'clock. It was from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. Alice and I got there, and he said, "Come straight to the brewery." So we got there at about 3. It was packed.
Who likes podcasting?
Okay, you sound. Yeah, it was packed. Yeah, you sound better. So do you want to just? Okay, do you want to say your?
No, that was kind of a dumb point. You can be honest about that. That was kind of boring. That whole friggin' thing, that speech I said.
Well, do you have another one that you want to reference?
A better one? I was talking about planes, trains, and automobiles. What's better than a fucking movie?
Well, then say it again.
All right. I actually have a perfect example to even emphasize your already perfectly made point. I remember, you remember from the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, one of my favorite movies, for crying out loud, and where Steve Martin, his character at the beginning of the movie, he has to go home for Thanksgiving and have adventures, and his boss is having the hardest time trying to pick from which of the samples that he's provided him. He can't choose, so he sneaks out and does his whole thing with John Candy. But at the end of that fantastic movie, when you get to the end credits, they show the stinger. Yeah. The stinger is, in that movie, is they show the boss still at the office, at the boardroom table, all disheveled, looking at these two samples, still hasn't been able to choose which one, and there's a whole Thanksgiving dinner still there on his boardroom table. So
yeah, that's you're right. That's exactly it's following almost that airplane-y type joke where it follows up remember this guy or remember her? She's still doing.
But not all stingers have to follow that freaking rule, though, right? I mean, it could be freaking anything, though.
Well, no, but I'm saying that this was kind of the early way that people were doing them. What you found largely now, and what became very popular about this, was the sequel setup, as Down said. That's the people that really started employing this, right? Where you started going, well, don't worry, there's going to be another one. There's going to be more, and we're going to prove it by showing almost a little, not a trailer, but you're almost getting a little snippet of what's to come, right? Now, we joked about how the Remo Williams and other ones like Buckaroo Banzai made a promise and they didn't fulfill. Well, there's a couple of these, setting up for sequels that didn't work. Quite famously, the post-credit scene from Dolph Lundgren's Masters of the Universe. I don't know if do you guys remember this?
I don't remember this at all.
At the end.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
At the end, there's this, friggin' pink, bubbly cauldron almost looking thing with dry ice, and Skeletor's head comes out of it almost laughing, and it's Franklin Jella's voice here, and he's like, I'll be back! Skeletor says that basically looking into the camera. Guess what, Skeletor? You never came goddamn back. Didn't they do that? I want to say, well, actually, was the Freddy versus Jason, was that an end credit scene, or was that right before? Do you remember the one where they showed Jason's mask get pulled down by Freddy's glove?
Yeah, that was at the end. Yeah, that's right. I don't know. That was at the end of the 3D one maybe or whatever? Because that was right at the height of the Freddy's and Jason time, right?
But did that happen post credit or did that happen right at during the movie?
No, I think that was post credit. It was at the end or it was post credit. That's for sure. Because I remember, I think I've mentioned this before. I saw the Nightmare on Elm Street 3D one on a Friday the 13th at midnight at our local theater.
And a shallow grave covered in cobwebs.
No, dressed like a goth. No, I just mean it was a big deal. So I think even it was they were giving away posters and it was you got to stay after the credits, and that was when that happened. I think I may be totally wrong, internet, because there's zero internet research done on that topic, but that's the way I remember.
It feels that's what I for some reason I feel like it was on a Friday the 13th movie, not a Freddy movie. I feel
maybe.
It was. I think it was a Jason movie.
Oh, you're right. Because that was or was it when Jason Takes Manhattan? Maybe because that was a big deal too, right? And it was a big bomb in the '90s, right? Or Jason in Space.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I feel like it wasn't tagged at the end of a Freddy movie, right. But it brought that out. And then, I don't know if any of you, I know we're not really the horror crowd here beyond Gothface McDowns there, but did you guys ever watch Freddy versus Jason, that movie?
No, but now you're talking, but I
think I
really
did.
want to kind of watch these again now.
I think I did watch Freddy vs. Jason.
Well,
It's
fuck.
kind of good, like if I remember correctly. I saw it. I think it's got that shit's got to be on Netflix, man.
I don't know. But
I mean, if
who
you're
won?
talking about it,
Remember
though,
who won? Are we-
the first couple Nightmare on Elm Street are really good. The first one is a very good horror movie. Johnny Depp's in that, for crying out loud. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's an awesome movie.
And then it reaches its peak with Dream Warriors. What a masterpiece!
I'm sorry, that's my
like Dream
favorite
Warriors.
one.
Yeah.
Part 3, Dream
Of course
Warriors
you
is
do. It's a bunch of kids who got sleepy supertime powers, for crying out loud.
Yes.
And Dawkins did the soundtrack. Come on, we were the '80s kids. That's what we grew up with.
Holy shit! Did you just do a pull on Dawkins there? Like,
We're the Dream Warriors.
he's not wrong on any of these points. That's exactly what the song sounded like. No one knew. You know what's another thing about season 2 is you're gonna learn stuff, right? Because who knew Dawkins did the fucking soundtrack?
Season 2, season 2. It's all about research and teaching you all a lesson, for crying out loud.
Yeah, man. We'll have a little stinger at the end of the show where you'll learn a life lesson or something. That's one to grow on. We're bringing that back.
And now you know.
So I agree. I like this sort of stuff. I mean, I think all of these have been this, whatever you want to call it, like a sequel set. Oh no, actually, sorry. Let me start again. This sequel setup concept has been used a lot, as we mentioned. James Bond was employing it way back when. Some, unfortunately, were unsuccessful. And then there are a few examples of this sequel setup where they did it a little bit differently. I think, like, The Matrix Reloaded, and these are the questions of the definition of, are these actually end credit scenes? Because The Matrix Reloaded, which was, I think, the second terrible film, they actually showed the trailer for the next Matrix. The very similar concept here was Back to the Future 2 tagged a fucking Back to the Future 3 trailer on it. So that's not really like you're showing a bonus scene. You've already got a trailer cut and you're running it at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that doesn't count. They're basically making the most of the fact that they filmed both those movies back to back. You know what I mean? It's a good piece of business for the viewer, but technically, wouldn't call it a stinger.
Now,
I don't know. I mean, I think you're getting being asshole-ish about what a stinger is, because really, like, I mean, not like you're being an asshole. I just mean, like, I think you're being a stickler. The fact that they had the luxury of shooting the movies back to back, and they happen to make a 2-minute stinger that has a whole fucking bunch of shit in it, is just the reality of their business. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that.
Isn't it more of a commercial than kind of a funny little friggin' take on the movie to come? Or
who says it has to be a funny little take? All it is it's something that happens after the credits, right?
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. I think the way I think from Christian's train of thought is it's an actual original piece of content that doesn't show up in that next movie, for example.
Well, see,
right?
that's a better delineation then.
But you know what? I'll admit that I am being a stickler. I mean, wait till I tell my wife. Guess what? I got called a stickler tonight.
No, but it's a good point, because the whole point being that you don't see when Coulson and them find Thor's hammer. That's not in the Thor movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a bridge between Captain America and Thor. So,
yeah, that's the best way of it. It's like it's showing you. It's leading you there, but it's not. We're not going to duplicate that scene again for the most part.
That's a really good point. I mean, that's a really.
But you're right. This is still, we're talking about variances of how they're doing this. I mean, they just showed a trailer for it. But you got to admit, when you were watching Back to the Future 2, I'm telling you, that blew my goddamn mind. I think that was the first time that ever happened, where they actually already had the trailer for the next movie. Like, I remember going like, what the frig is happening here, man? Like, that was great. Like, I think Matrix, it was more just like okay, of course we knew that they had shot them back to back, but I think Back to the Future was, other than the Superman movies, which we knew famously Part 1 and 2 were done kind of at the same time. Like that Back to the Future 2, that you got to admit that was badass, even though it's not this exact example of a stinger. It was cool that they had that trailer ready for us before we left the theater.
So, but here's my question to you, Michael DiGiovanni, season 2 host of this podcast. So, when you saw Back to the Future 2 in the theater, did you normally stay till the very end of the credits to see that, or did you know that beforehand going into the movie?
You know what? I believe, if memory serves me correct, and I've had a lot of beers in my life, so chances are this is a complete incorrect statement, that it is that they did the to be continued thing that they did again at like Part 1. They said the to be continued up in the written in the Back to the Future font, and then it directly played the trailer. So I think it happened pre-credit. Now that I think about it.
So
by that rationale, it would know it'd be kicked out for multiple reasons then.
It's still cool, but a stinger, it is not. But you know what? So as we mentioned, a lot of the things that are happening here is like set up a lot of these good examples. However, they were done differently. Are a lot of the popular uses of them, like the Marvel movies, even the Fast and the Furious movies, are doing this thing now.
Really?
Yeah,
Fast and Furious.
Oh, they've been doing it for a long time, man. Like apparently,
you love these movies.
I still have it. That was my from season 1. That was my the New Year's resolution. I've only watched one of them, but
I watched the first one this summer because people have been freaking talking about how good these fucking movies are. I was like, all right, well, it was on television, so I said, I'll watch it.
I've seen the first one. I mean, I thought it was not a great movie, but I feel like I'm biding my time until everyone says the deeper you get in the series, the better it gets.
But in that movie, I'll tell you that though.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I picked up and watched the one after Tokyo Drift. I don't know if that's number 3 or whatever. I got the one. I watched the first one, The Rock's in, I think.
Yeah,
that's when it's supposed to start getting really, really quite good.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it's a good action movie. It's I don't need to see it. It's not like Game of Thrones or really anything that I must see. It's just it was like, yeah, it's a good action movie. Okay.
How awesome would that be? A freaking amalgamation of Game of Thrones and Fast and Furious, for crying out loud. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Chasing after freaking northern frozen people and fucking like Chevys and shit.
The White Walkers drive like muscle cars. Obviously, that's the Road Warrior right there. Is what that is.
They'd be having like instead of drag races, they'd be having dragon races, for Christ's sakes, on this fucking thing. That was a terrible, terrible pun.
That was a bad joke.
I'm glad you said it before I did.
But it was good. It was. I mean, it fit. But yes, the Fast and the Furious said
the Dragoness,
the Wisterios, that's quite the mashup. But
Wisterios Drift.
That's right.
But so, anyways, a lot of these, as we've been saying, they're setting up sequels all the time, and it got me thinking about these, how popular these are, and how effective they have been for the Fast and the Furious, Marvel, and what have you. Made me think, like, what would the end credit scenes be for older movies? Some of those franchises that never really employed this sort of stuff. So I'd be curious for us to brainstorm and think what we thought an older film, how their end credit scene would work. So let's start with one of the big ones. Star Wars, Episode 4, A New Hope. I mean, they called this sucker Episode 4. He kind of had a plan in his head. Maybe this was a risk back in the 70s. He wasn't 100% sure this was going to be successful. He tried to tell a bit of a complete story. But in the back of his head, calling this sumbitch Episode 4 meant he thought there was going to be multiple chapters. So what could he have? What would be the logical stinger for Lucas to put on A New Hope? Downs, where do we go with that?
I think this one's probably the easiest one for us that we're going to talk about tonight, because the biggest absence in A New Hope is the Emperor. So I think he knew the Emperor was going to be in this, like, and the Emperor's in fucking the 3 movies that are prequels, right? So you got to get the Emperor into this movie, and so I think that's what you need to do.
That is, I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't even think of that. That's actually really, really good. So you're saying it's like you cut at the end of the credits to almost a cloaked dude, a black cloaked guy who senses a disturbance because the Death Star just got destroyed, and he says, "Send for my ship," or something like that. And it cuts to black.
To me, I think you have Darth Vader reporting to him, and it's like, "I'm sorry, my master," and he goes, "It's okay. Our plans are not foiled," or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to set up the Vader-Emperor relationship before you go into now Empire Strikes Back, and so that's what I think you do.
Yeah, I see a scene where you have the Emperor and Vader together talking to a contractor who's sitting there with a clipboard and overalls, and the Emperor is basically saying, "So, how long will it take to fix it?" And he's talking, the contractor's going, "Well, Death Star's got good bones. There's still good bones there, for crying out loud. We can fix it. It may take a while, but we can fix this thing, for crying out loud."
Yeah, no, they should just have him go,
"How long?"
Yeah, him going, "All right, what's this going to set the Empire back?" Right here, all right.
"Oh, I'm a friend of the dark side. I can see you doing this."
Get my Sith checkbook there, Vader. Yeah, that's what. Trust me, like, that might almost be more of an Empire stinger, right? Because they don't get around to showing you the work that's been done on the Death Star until Return of the Jedi. But
at the end of Empire, that's when the contractor shows the bill, right? He goes, "Oh,
well, no, and they're probably going to be building it all through the Empire Strikes Back, right? Because but I think the biggest hole in that movie, if you look at the 6 of them now, the Emperor is not in that movie at all.
No,
that's a bit of a misstep.
It's a freaking spectacular point, and I think it only makes sense. Like, if that because Lucas technically could earn some money, play some Australian lotteries or something like that with all the money he's got, and then make enough money to buy back the rights to the movies, and then if he was going to put a stinger in for Star Wars and his new remaking of the films, that would be a good one to fucking do.
Yeah, that totally. I'm still thinking of how we could add the stinger to Return of the Jedi now, of the guy that's fixing the Death Star going, calling them and getting no answer, like calling the Death Star and going, "So how's it going? Is it all right? Hello?
She running okay?"
He has no clue, and then it's like you see his wife doing the dishes, and then looking out and seeing the explosion in the sky, and her arms drop. "Honey, all right, how's it going?"
I'm on the phone with an important client. Hold on.
But so yeah, Downs, I think you're totally right on that. That's goddamn brilliant. So okay, on that note, what is the end credit scene then for The Empire Strikes Back? What is there a logical one for that?
2 emperors.
Well,
you find out that not only are Luke and Leia twins, but the Emperor is twins.
Have you seen these movies, or like at all? My goodness. Season 2, we should have brought back Mark Dury. My God.
Should have watched more movies for season 2.
I'll admit that I can't remember what we know where in the movies. So
okay. So
we know the twins and everything now, or
no? Well, I mean, you have to. The way I'm thinking about this, we are putting out these. These stingers are happening in 1980. So the prequels have not happened yet. So we don't have the luxury of saying, even though your idea is really good, you don't have the luxury of saying, well, those 3 prequels before it, those prequels don't come out till the 90s, right?
No, I know that, but even then, I think that the Vader going to the Emperor sets up a sequel. So in that vein, I think that's in the bridge concept we said earlier. Perfect. That works
because the Emperor's in part 2. Like he appears in some fashion in Empire Strikes. I think what we find out is Yoda kind of drops a bit of a hint that there is another. He hasn't said if it's a sister yet. Hear me out. If anyone remembers this, obviously Empire Strikes Back, who doesn't remember this apparently, except for the 2 people I'm on this podcast with, is that Han gets taken by Boba Fett away in Carbonite. So
it's the big downer ending. It's the big Star Wars downer.
It's the big. So the thought is this. There's kind of, in my opinion, there's 2 ways. Do you tease Jabba the Hutt? Do you show Boba Fett landing on Tatooine? And someone like Jabba the Hutt basically knowing that he's receiving his the bounty, basically, right? I think most people would think that is the obvious scene.
That's a really good idea too, for crying out loud.
Well, and they've already set up with that scene that they never shot. It says in the movie of Jabba approaching Han for A New Hope, right? So. Yeah. That makes total sense that you can have and go, finally, thank you, you know what I mean, or whatever, blah, 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 right?
You know what I mean? Like, that would be, I can see it. Scene ends, the slave one, like, comes across the Tatooine desert, lands at the palace, comes out and maybe, like,
Boba Fett just presents the friggin' carbonite corpse of friggin' Han Solo, for crying out loud. And then Jabba the Hutt just laughs.
Yeah.
and then it fades to black.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, that to me is the one. The only other thing that I could think of with Empire was, do you cut to showing Luke building his new light green lightsaber? That could be also the post-credit scene.
You know what? That's actually a much better one, because one of the, again, I'll say, the holes in the story that I have with this whole, I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, obviously. I got crap the other day at work because they say I talk about it too much. I don't really believe when Luke comes back in Return of the Jedi. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's progressed too much, and that's not visible to the audience. So I think something like this, something showing him, maybe he arrives back on Dagobah. Do you know what I mean? Or do we already see that in the movie?
I don't know. No, like he goes to Dagobah in Jedi, right? But it's like when in that next movie, I think the big thing to your point is what is the gap of time that's passed between Empire and Return of Jedi? Because Luke is now rocking some serious Jedi shit in that.
Right.
And I think that's kind of inferred to that movie where he's dressed all in black. He's fucking fucking mind controlling people like crazy. That looks like this dude's got his shit together, for crying out loud.
So it suggests that like 2 weeks have not just happened. It's longer.
I never, when I was a kid, I didn't even think about he had a green fucking lightsaber. All I gave a shit was he had, hey, look, he's got a lightsaber, for Christ's sakes. You know what I mean? A scene of him in his welding mask, fucking burning his fingers while he's trying to put some kind of green crystal in some fucking sword hilt, for Christ's sake, is not that exciting.
Well, I think, like, to me, it's like there's even a call-out in Return of the Jedi where Vader says, I see you've constructed a new lightsaber. Like, he talks about it and says it's like your father's. Like, he says that. So you could, I mean, I personally think the Jabba one is the more obvious and would have been a better hook to leave people on.
Yeah, like, people think that, oh my God, there's like a new kind of villain, or there's another villain now. What could he be? When really he's just a big fat ass is gonna be fucking strangled to death. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. Nice.
So here, before we leave Star Wars, how much do you bet, now that Disney owns Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams and crew are making these movies, that these new Episode 7, these suckers are having fucking post-credits?
God, yes. God, yes. There is a war room somewhere in the Disney headquarters of what Star Wars is going to have, and somewhere there's a checkbox that says post-credit scene, and every movie's going to have one. That's a checkbox in a column for success. I guarantee it.
Like, we already know they're greenlit for 7, 8, and 9. It's not like there's any concern. I think the formulas work for goddamn Marvel. I mean, they're not. I think you better stay in your seat because there's going to be something. Did you know actually that Phantom Menace kind of did something?
Yes. I see. Okay, so I looked this up, and it's funny because it's someone is a Paul Cole. Was that Tired Canadian? Was just commented on YouTube. I think he's watching, by the way.
Holy Jesus.
And he's saying we got to stop talking about Star Wars. So that's him, right? He's a big Star Trek guy and doesn't like Star Wars.
We're gonna get to that.
See, I thought I remember sitting when we went and saw this as a group down in Pennsylvania or something. At the end of the credits, it changes the music changes to the Imperial March, and you hear Vader's voice respirator.
That's what. Yes. So it's not really. There's no actual scene, but they right at the end they do the classic Vader breath, right? And it becomes more the music
respirator. That's what I'm
yeah, the respirator. But I think that's so. I think guarantee it, folks. The Atomic Geeks are making the statement now that there's no way these friggin' other movies aren't going to have post credits. But let's think of another movie for a post credit scene. What do we think the post-credit scene would have been for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan?
So what? Okay. So
yeah,
what
you have to set up the universe between 2 and 3, probably, right?
Well, think about it. This was really the only Star Trek 2 and 3 where they're like the legitimate episodically storytelling. They didn't do that a lot in the other movies, not including the new rebooted ones. But the other ones the other movies just tended to be new adventures. 2 and 3, there was a link. There was a link.
Yeah, they're building something.
Spock
the first one was bullshit, and now the second one was like, whoa, we got something here. Let's make another one that kind of goes with this one.
Well, Spock dies.
Spock dies, and third is the search for Spock when they find him again. Is that?
Yes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, and I don't know if either of you are going to know this information. I feel like Spock gets jettisoned out in like a sunglasses case out of the back of the Enterprise, right?
Yeah, like a Tylenol capsule or something like that. Wasn't
it? That big fucking pill bottle. Yeah.
So do we see it land on a planet? I think we do before the credits, don't you?
In the first movie, really? Is it that obvious?
Second movie.
In the second movie.
No, so to me, that's how the second movie starts. So in the first movie.
No, what are you talking? No, because I think like we're confusing part 2 and 3.
Right. Yes. We mean part 2 and 3 when we say the first and second movie. But yeah, we have to accept that in the conversation.
Okay, so you feel like the search for Spock begins with the sunglasses case arriving on the planet?
I thought so.
Or does that happen in the end of part of the Wrath of Khan?
I mean, if it happens in that, that's pretty obvious. If that happens in the end of that, I don't know how you make a stinger, as it were. Because what is the rest of fucking that third movie about then?
Well, the Wrath of Khan, it lands on the planet. The pill lands on the planet.
Does it?
Yes, it lands on the planet. Soft lands on the planet.
So could you do something then with is the stinger got to be something about the Klingons then?
Yeah, because are they the villains? I'm trying what is the rest of the story of that movie? I can't remember now. So
the Klingons figure into the search for Spock. They're not in the Wrath of Khan because you're dealing with Ricardo Montalban, right? Like you're at that. Do you then have to show the Klingons then as your stinger scene, I guess, for part 2?
Well, what happens to Khan in part 2? It kind of helps if we refreshed our friggin' our heads on that fucking movie for crying out loud.
Movies, yeah. But I think you probably you reveal that the Klingons are in the next movie. Again, it's always you're trying to bridge and get. If we follow the Marvel model, again, we didn't get to mention Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know how many of you guys have seen that. Because they don't. Have you guys both seen it?
I've seen it.
Oh God, I haven't seen it. I mean,
I've seen it twice. I took my kids. It's such a fucking awesome movie. That one doesn't follow that model, right? It's not anything to do with the next movie or story at all. It's
No,
just
that's just like a little punchline. Like,
a
that's
little
what you
neat
get.
thing. Yeah, like it's funny because it's a Marvel product, but it's going back to the old school thing. It's just like, meh, hi, look at this. Although even Avengers, it was just some guy eating shawarma. Do you know what I mean? Like to that point, do you know what I mean? Like a lot of them haven't been that groundbreakingly revealing.
No, the Avengers had two, because the Avengers had Thanos at the end of it. That was the mid-credit scene, right? And then the shawarma was end credit.
And so was Thanos mid-credits?
right.
Yeah.
Thanos was mid-credit. Like, that was the one where everyone was like, holy shit, they're actually bringing...
And that was my wife leaned over to me and goes, who is that?
Everyone's wives asked.
Well, we didn't actually talk about how some of these you've had to look up, because even who's seen Days of Future Past? I have.
I have not.
Yeah. So the end. So without spoilering, the post-credit scene of that causes you to look it up. Yeah, I don't know many people. So the other thing is that Marvel.
Well, listen. Let's spoil it. I mean, it's like...
No, I don't want to spoil it.
Oh, my goodness. Good thing you're on a podcast, for God's sakes.
But so anyways, it's I think you can almost be too clever. Like, I literally had to go home and look that one up, and I read comic books.
That one's a little obtuse, to be honest. I mean, like, you have...
Okay, well, DJ, would I get it if I saw it? Would I know right away?
I believe you would, yeah.
Right. I am pretty smart when I see movies.
But like even
if you ever see them, is what we're saying.
But yeah, exactly. But even the X-Men #2 with the Fiery Phoenix, like Bryan Singer, was the herald of the. I've totally taken this conversation on track. I apologize, but yes.
No, just to get us just to recount a little bit. The Wrath of Khan post-credit, something with fucking Klingons. Continue. Clearly, Star Trek is not our forte at all.
So what I see is the capsule lands on the planet Genesis, and then basically what happens is a little space raccoon kind of starts up a relationship with the Spock inside the capsule for about the first couple of minutes, and that's all we see of that character ever again.
Yeah, like a dog comes up and pees on it, but it's like a space dog. It's purple or something.
Yeah, it's got like 3 tails.
Actually, if you're going to say raccoon, that could have been Rocket Raccoon, who could have been his origin story.
That's actually what I thought you were saying.
No, it's a totally different raccoon altogether. It's a space raccoon.
All right, well, let's get back on track here. Let's stop talking about purple space raccoons with 3 tails.
Guardians of the Galaxy, man, goddamn good movie.
So great movie, goddamn great movie. Okay, so what would a stinger scene be like for the movie Rocky 2? What would that be?
I'm so glad that you just basically took those horrible freaking jokes right out of Star Trek and moved on to the next movie. That's some fantastic second season hosting right there, for crying out loud.
This is the new way you host, baby, in second two. When you get renewed for a second season, baby, there's no joking around here with hosting.
When you fuck around for 5 years and someone finally says maybe you should redo your show, and we do it, this is what happens.
We like to call it renewed.
Now we're really doing it. Now we're really going to do
serious.
it.
Okay, so Rocky 2, what's the stinger scene in that?
The stinger scene in that, what I think the stinger scene in that is essentially you're going to cut to a boxing match where a younger fighter just beats the living shit out of some real tough guy, for crying out loud, and somebody in the audience asks, "Who is that?" And it's just, that's a new kid. He's called Clubber Lang, and then it says like, the Italian stallion, better watch out, or something like that, and that kind of sets up the next movie.
Yeah, awesome.
But wait, aren't you on the wrong movie? Rocky 3 isn't that with Ivan Drago?
No, Rocky
Jesus
4
Christ.
is Drago. Part 3
Looks
is...
like somebody else has got to go out and see some movies.
I don't have a fucking memory. So this is the one that So Apollo Creed, he wins from Apollo Creed, the end of 2, and he's going into Clubber Lang's Rocky 3.
Yeah.
Rocky 2 was the answer to all the people who got pissed off in Rocky 1. It's like, why the
When he
fuck did
lost.
he win the title?
Yeah,
So he won the title.
right,
But Rocky
yeah.
3 is great because that's when Rocky is almost eating too much fame cookies and he's getting big and fat and he needs his comeuppance, and along comes Clubber Lang.
The lean, clean, young, fit, Clubber Lang. Yeah, I mean that sounds like a good one. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I actually you could do that either way. Like you show them you either show in a dirty ass gym and some guy from behind is destroying a friggin' like what is it called?
Yeah, like how many sparring partners has been at right now? Like 12 or something.
Or like he's hitting the punching bag and something like that, and you just see the shadow of him, and then you just hear like someone's going, "Who the hell's that?" And that's like, haven't you heard? That's Clubber Lang, and then you cut to black or something like that. Like that's the setup as the villain for the next goddamn movie for sure.
That's a good one. Who thought of? Oh, never mind. Yes, that was a good one.
That was a good one. That was all you there, Christian. That was all you. Okay, time out. Because I don't know how long we've been going now.
For an hour now, I'd say.
Well, we had some start stops and what? Okay, so what other ones did I send you guys? Lord of the Rings. Is there any of the ones that you really wanted to talk about?
Not really. I mean, no offense, I really don't want to talk about Lord of the Rings. So
okay, what else? What other ones did I send you?
The Superman 1 and Back to the Future.
Okay, Superman 1. We already
talked a lot about Back to the Future already.
Yeah. And so the only thing I was going to say, I was going to mention Quentin Tarantino. That might even be a whole other topic, but I thought it's worth throwing out there. You know what I mean? Like, what if, or maybe we could say, what are some other ideas this might be good for future topics? I don't know.
Okay, you don't want to do Lord of the Rings? You don't want to? Is there another movie you guys want to throw out where you wonder what the stinger could be? Because we've only done.
I think Quentin Tarantino. I think there's so many movies. Like, I love this idea. I think this could be.
But again, let's not try and kill the topic, right? I mean, we've.
Well, I think we should do one more. We've only done 2.
No, we've technically done Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back.
I gotta pee. I'll be right back.
Rocky 2 and barely Star Trek.
We gotta do one more to finish off. Like.
Well, then do Lord of the Rings, but then. Hit up down. I'm just trying to. I can't remember how the first one ends. For Christ's sakes, I was meant to look at that before it friggin' did it.
It's Fellowship.
Down's Nice Preamble was much better when he was here, when you weren't here. I don't know what's going on. We're just no magic happening right now.
What are you talking about? I can't. Your freaking microphone's been terrible tonight. You're still warbly.
What? Why didn't you tell? Oh, for fuck's sake!
Well, because we weren't gonna restart
Stop
again.
the show or whatever. Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you. It's the same.
No, you're okay, but it's just it's a little.
What if we just talk about the idea as a concept and how fun it was and blah 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 at the end, and how.
Or if there are any other ones that we remember that haven't been mentioned.
Yeah, because I literally have Reservoir. I have a couple for some Tarantino movies I can bring up if you don't want.
Okay.
Ones you've created or ones we just haven't talked about. We know about.
No, ones I've thought up.
Okay. And then I'll do. Okay, so we'll do like. Anyone else have any movies that you think would be cool to suggest? Downs, you can do yours, and then we could, when we're ending, say any other great ones that you, Christian. Do you have some ones that you remember from other movies that you want to bring up? From existing ones, yeah.
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, I have a couple, but there's nothing really because we kind of covered a lot of that in our conversation. To be totally honest.
Okay.
There we go. So no, I don't. So just we might want to start with Downs.
Okay. All right, so would anyone have any other movies that they wish had a post-credit one, like as well, like that we could think of for it?
Sorry, weren't we going to do something else? Didn't you have a Superman or something, or?
Oh, so I thought we were because I thought.
Okay, all right, sure.
I thought we said Superman. Like Christian doesn't want to do Lord of the Rings, Superman and Back to the Future. We've kind of already done.
Okay. So okay, cool.
Let's do Lord of the Rings. Fuck, I don't care. Let's do Lord of the Rings.
No, sorry, I thought we said we were still doing Superman. But right, we did that too. So sorry, go ahead. I'll jump right in. I'll start over. I think I gotta think that Tarantino. I'm surprised that Quentin Tarantino didn't jump on this bandwagon. Do you know what I mean? Like, even if the Vega brothers never had a movie. You would think because he's built universes that he might do this. So I thought up a couple that I thought for his movies. For one, I thought an obvious one in Pulp Fiction is someone opens up the briefcase and you find out what the briefcase is. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, whoa!
See that? Yeah. Wow.
Do you think that would be pretty crazy?
That I think that's wow. This is sacred ground now. Here, it's like, what was it? Is that what made it so special? Is that we didn't know? But then that is a good, cool, logical idea to kind of go, hey, remember that? We never showed you it in the movie. Here is actually what it is. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I'm torn on that one because I like the ambiguousness of it.
I don't agree. No offense. I don't think it's a good one. I don't think. No, I don't think that should be revealed. Like what would be in there? You know what I mean? It could like a set of freaking deck lights for crying out loud or whatever the heck.
So you think nothing, whatever they show off, is not going to pay off? Is what you're thinking?
Yeah, I mean, you know what would pay off for crying out loud? Because in that movie, the case is returned. It'd be kind of interesting to see who the case is presented to from then on, or what happens to the case. You know what I mean?
Something say Marcellus Wallace gives the case to the Pope. You'd be like, holy fuck! You know what I mean? Like something.
Yeah. Like something like that, like a shadowy figure or somebody else or something like that. Like
actually, you know what they should do is they should have Marcellus Wallace walk into an office, drop the case on the desk and say, we got it, and it turns out to be the old man that hired the Reservoir Dogs. So it links those two movies together.
Well, that was like, so, because my other one is, I'm like, the awesome post-credit scene, I think, again, would be to have Steve Buscemi, you find out that he really does live. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you see him with open up something with a bag of stones, and you're like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Because again, not everyone back then would have watched past the credits. So some people would have thought everyone died, and that's the way the movie ends. But maybe he didn't, and he didn't.
Or like he's basically the courier to pick up the package. Like he comes in, like it's Steve Buscemi, like Mr. Pink. You got it, and Marcel's like, here you go. All right, he appreciates it and just walks out with it. You know what I mean? You can make your own assumptions.
That's what I mean. Because Tarantino's film world is so intertwined, and because this concept has got popular, I'm surprised he's never done it. Do you know what I mean?
He has done it. He has.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt that. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, he has done it in Django Unchained. He does have an end. He has a stinger in that movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, at the end of the movie, it cuts back to the three fellas who were in that cage that were taken by the Australians. Remember? And they all look and they say, "Who was that nigga?"
And that's how it ends?
Yeah. Oh. I discovered that in my season 2 internet research protocol.
Well, but again, you think of From Dusk Till Dawn, you could almost kind of have an Easter egg of your universe if you think, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost, I'm surprised someone like him or Christopher Nolan hasn't picked up on this and put it into movies so that there's like an extra level of all of my art. Like, if you think of these people as filmmakers, as artists, it's almost like you could put a calling card in your stinger, if you will.
Well, it's like Tarantino drops little hints, very subtle hints, of this interconnectivity of this universe. He could play that up in the post-credit scenes. Like, absolutely. I think that's where you could actually, if you don't want to blemish your Jackie Brown story by it, but that's where you could have a little like, oh, and by the way, here's Vincent Vega. You know what I mean? Like, that you could have fun, because it almost like the post-credit scenes don't really count because they're not, but they are an added bonus for fans. Actually, something that I found out is Kill Bill 2 has a post-credit scene. But that's what I thought too. Anyway. But it's an outtake. That's the one thing, is it's more of like a Cannonball Run blooper, is that if you stay to the end of Kill Bill 2, they show an outtake of the showdown at the House of the Blue Leaves, where the eye gets the act of the ripping out the eyeball.
Yes, I did see that. I remember waiting and seeing and watching that. But
it's an outtake, so it's not an actual scene. It's actually more of a bloopery sort of thing.
Not to be a stickler, but isn't it still a stinger for crying out loud?
Oh, it is. But I'm saying, you're right. So he's done that. I mean, I had no idea that they did that in Django. But
they did that in Zombieland too, right? Like the stinger in that movie was the outtake where Bill Murray does his scene in the movie Zombieland. Does that one important scene in that movie? He does a couple of different versions of that, which is actually kind of pretty friggin' hilarious.
Oh yeah, that's just a different way to do them. But I think what Downs is stating here is that Tarantino seems like the filmmaker that should be exploiting this to put some original content, not like a blooper, an outtake, or whatever the hell. Like you're right. He seems like the type of filmmaker that should be doing this sort of stuff.
Because I mean, most of his film comes from watching other films, and he geeks out over all these things. So you think like. Literally, the more I've said this, I'm surprised, you know what I mean, that he wasn't on this way before it was popular. You know what I mean? Because he's such a student of the game, if you will. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So I think that's as good a place as any to wrap up our post-credit scenes episode for the show here. But before we wrap up, is there anything else?
I saw a movie that was kind of neat. It's a time-traveling romantic comedy called About Time.
Oh, I've heard great stuff about that movie.
And the guy that stars in this movie apparently is in the new the Star Wars movies, for crying out loud. But it's a real interesting take on time travel. And I'm not going to lie, I mean, it is a romantic comedy. There are a lot of funny bits in it. It takes a more of a dramatic turn near the end, with spontaneous emotional outbursts for myself when I watch this movie, for crying out loud. And there's a kind of a sugary coated message at the end, but fuck, good movie, man. And it was an interesting take on time travel. So if you like time travel or romantic comedies, if you don't have anything else to do, you might want to check out About Time.
I've heard it is really good. It's the guy that did Notting Hill and all those movies, I think.
Oh, that might explain why I like it so much.
And if you're in the mood for a spontaneous emotional outburst, I suppose, then that's...
well, crazy. I was just trying to be a little friggin' podcast verite honesty about myself, for Christ's sakes. It gets really kind of emotional near the end, and it hit me in a certain place that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I've heard I've heard really good things about it. I've heard it's about like a guy who it's in his family, they have the ability to kind of travel back in time, and it's about like him trying to meet a girl, but it really turns about a relationship between a father and son, which
but also the practical limitations of his power become an important part of the storyline, which it makes even more fucking awesome.
I've heard you're not the first person to say it's really good. I haven't. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say it's really, really good. I
thought I was the first. I thought I was. This is my
first. But you're not my first, buddy.
I guess it wasn't.
I've had a lot before you. But the one thing I want to just throw out here is, anyone watching the FX series The Strain?
Nope. Although I heard it's really good. That's what other people have said about it. I know I'm not the first to say that it's not good, but I mean, I've heard it's good. Other people said it for the first time ever.
It is good. I'm telling you right now. That was my joke. I just did it. I did it.
Oh, did you? I thought I was the first.
Oh God. We're not supposed to talk over anything else's.
Anything else's.
Advantage D. Giovanni.
Hashtag anything else's.
No, I'm telling you, man, this is the Guillermo del Toro show. It's based on a book series that he co-wrote. It's about vampires, but it's almost treating them more like a virus, and it's taking the romanticism of vampires out. Like, they're back to just monsters in this fucking thing. It's really good. I've heard very little chatter from like friends and co-workers and social media and whatever like about it, and I've been watching, the entire season. It's almost done. It's fucking good. I thought, Downs, if you haven't watched it, I think you would like it.
You know, it's so funny. I have to go back to your comment a couple episodes ago, back in season 1, about the plethora of content. And man, were you bang on, because we got hit with a lot of TV shows now. And this was on my list as a maybe. And so now that you've said something, I'll probably check it out. It was on the list, on the bubble. Extant with Halle Berry.
Oh, yeah.
Not very good, so I'm happy to drop that and put this in his place. And again, it was on. There's so many. You were so right about all the channels and all the new shows and sci-fi, and everybody is really banging out a lot of shit. Yeah, perk up your television ears. But I wanted to mention. I mentioned Game of Thrones or Guardians of the Galaxy. What a great movie it is. I took my kids back to it after I seen it once. I thought it was such a great movie. They would love it. They loved Groot and Rocket Raccoon, two great characters for kids. Little violent, but really not that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I don't think I could bring my almost 4-year-old daughter to it. But this movie has hit a lot of quadrants. Excuse the pun. There is that it's appealing to teenagers and families and guys and girls, and it's hitting which surprising. I gotta commend Marvel and Disney for going for this. Like, that's why it's so smart. If this, I know that if we all thought if this movie works, it could be Star Wars for a new generation, and it kind of looks like it's turning into that.
Well, and I mean the biggest thing that I think I read somewhere, so I don't think this is an original thought, but I claim it to be. I was like, man, has Marvel shown how? Guess what? You don't need to have a baked-in audience. You can build the fucking team out of nothing, and in a movie get people to like your characters. And that movie does it. No one knows any of those people going into this movie. And the whole fear of superheroes has always been, well, people aren't going to know Wonder Woman. They're not going to know so-and-so. You don't need to know so-and-so.
As long as it's a good movie, who gives a shit? That's what people... I had people at my work saying to me, I don't know. The thing is, I don't really know the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, well, dude, you didn't know who the Matrix was. Yeah. Like, you didn't know who the Terminator was. Why does it matter? Like, why? Marvel's breaking that stigma that it's like, these are just movies. You don't have to know that character.
Yeah. So the other thing I did want to add, though, is that I did also take my boys to go see the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh.
And I was a little bit on the fence, because there's been a lot of shit press and stuff. And let me first say that I don't have any allegiance to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book, cartoon, or previous movies. Don't really give a fuck about them.
I think we were too old. We don't have
to. They were behind our generation. Exactly. Yeah. And to that point, my boys loved the shit out of this movie. And it was action-packed-y. The turtles were fun. They were wisecracking-y. And we walked out of that, and I think they were maybe even more happier than Guardians of the Galaxy. So I got to say, it's so interesting how it shows to me that we're not the audience for these things. And so I watched it, and I laughed along with them. And, again, I have a 7-year-old, so I kind of got to watch him. And, it didn't start with such a sad note as Guardians of the Galaxy did, and it wasn't quite as violent. So, again, from a kid perspective, I think they liked TMNT a little bit more than Guardians of the Galaxy. So,
holy smokes.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, like you say.
Like them both, but, sorry.
No, it's funny you mentioned sort of sad note for kind of because the kids are a lot tougher these like that goddamn Frozen movie starts with a freaking super sad note for crying out loud. Because I know times I've watched that with my daughter who's like just turning 4 for crying out loud, and it's like when the parents start freaking taking that big sea dive for crying out loud. I mean, you don't hear commenting about it. I just figure that's the way it is. And,
yeah, they've matured the kids' movie storytelling a little bit as well. You're right.
Very tragic, and I'm like, I had to prepare the boys, and they were fine, but I was like, just remember, Batman's parents were shot in front of him, right? Like this is a lot of times how heroes are born. All the while thinking my background. I hope they don't try and kill me in my sleep and then try to become superheroes, right? Because I'm like, that is the worst.
Now there's a lesson for parents to beware of.
Morning, Daddy. Frying pan right to the head.
I'm just trying to be superheroes.
Oh my goodness! Hope that, for God forbid, that happens. So there you go. That is episode 1 of season 2 of the Atomic Geeks. But fear not, we'll be back next week. Christian, will you be hosting?
Apparently, I'm hosting the next week, and I have a big bucket of topics of things and ideas I want to talk about, and I have absolutely no idea which one I'm going to pick. So get ready for adventure, future listener of the second episode of Season 2 of the Atomic Geeks podcast.
There you go. So nothing really truly has changed. You can find the Atomic Geeks all over the place. We're on Facebook, Instagram, we're on Twitter. Visit our website, theatomicgeeks.com. Wherever you listen to the show, leave us a rating or a review. We definitely appreciate that. So for Christian and for Mr. Downs, this is Michael DiGiovanni saying, welcome back. Thanks for listening, and the Atomic Geeks out.
Good night.
There you go. There you go, fellas.
All right, take us off the recording. Can you unlive us or something?
Stop live us? Yeah, okay. All right, see you.
wait.
What's his name?
Well, I have stuff to talk about before we go off. That's why I'm saying unlive us.
Okay, I got to pee first.
All right.